fuck did he just say?
Yeah, okay, smart ass. This is real knowledge. Save all the hippie shit for art classes. Really starting to bug me on this one. Gonna have to trust me on this one. I've done the studies on this one. Real little rusty on this one. I mean, why can't you just answer my question on the subject? It's not in the fucking book. It's not up for discussion.
Yo.
Hey, David.
Hey. Daniel.
How are ya?
I think I'm doing all right.
Good stuff. I like your background.
You know what? I just realized you could do that in Skype 1 minute ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's funny. I've been using Zoom for a lot of my work stuff.
I know you can do it on Zoom. So.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because everyone that I work with back at home in Canada, they're putting up all these, nice backdrops of beaches and stuff, and there I am, just out on my balcony with the nice backdrops of palm trees and whatnot behind me out here in Mexico. So I don't really have to fake it, but I'm in my room today because
you're in Mexico.
I'm in Mexico. Yeah. It was a bit of a crazy adventure. Mid-March, I realized that things were obviously getting really bad, and my daughter was already down here for her spring break. My parents, they own property down 45 minutes from Puerto Vallarta in a little fishing village, and so I knew that they were going to be shutting everything down. So I cleared it with my boss, and he said, yeah, I'm good to work remotely. So I basically within 24 hours went home, packed my truck, packed up everything that I could, emergency supplies, and then I left. It was a Tuesday morning, so I don't know what date that was exactly, but they closed the Canadian border 1 hour after I made it into the States. So I was just about an hour past Oroville, Washington, heading south, and I saw a news report saying they'd closed the border to non-essential traffic. So I hightailed it. I drove nonstop, except for a 1 hour break in the Nevada desert. I had to stop because I was hallucinating. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and I've been driving for a long time. So I stopped in Nevada, slept for an hour, woke up in the morning, and then just kept going. Made it to the Mexican border at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I went to Navajo and spent the night there, slept for about 7 hours, and then got up and just kept going. So all in all, it was 52 hours of driving, and I did it in 60 hours time. So it was 2.5 days.
So what's going on in Mexico? The lockdown there?
It's locked down, yeah. It's definitely a little bit behind, I think, where everybody else is. But Puerto Vallarta is shut down. Like all the restaurants, bars, hotels, everything's shut down. Where I am, it's in a different state, so it's in the Nayarit state. It's the same state that Nuevo Vallarta is in, where all the big resorts and whatnot are. But it's shut down here too. There's no real tourist activity, so restaurants are shut down. We're actually locked down, like the town is locked down. So we have a military checkpoint that's blocking all access into the town, and there's only one road in and out. So it was pretty easy for them to shut down the town. But we actually have a lot of freedom here in this village. We can leave our homes, walk anywhere we want. Occasionally the cops will roll through. We've had some people have reports of the cops telling them, no, go home. But I haven't experienced it myself. So some restaurants are still open. There's a couple restaurants that are kind of secretly selling booze because they banned alcohol sales here. So
wow.
Yeah, tough for a lot of Mexicans because a lot of them drink beer more than they drink water. So it's been weird for sure. I was here in January. I drove my mom down in January, and just a different world entirely. Like, it's quiet here at night now, whereas back in January it didn't matter what day of the week it was, there'd be people out in the streets all night partying, dancing, and music, and so it's very calm. but it's also very safe. Like everyone here, it's community oriented. Nobody's really freaking out at this point. There are some shops that are giving food out to people who don't have food, so that's good. We haven't heard a lot about any kind of robberies or anything like that, so keeping our fingers crossed. Yeah, it's coming. And so where are you? I'm guessing you're on the East Coast somewhere.
East Coast, Connecticut, right near New York.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Steve?
Hey.
Steve, this is David Weiss.
Hey, good to meet you, David. Been a long time fan since 2015.
Been a while, man.
Yeah, it's been a long run. You put out some good info there, and yeah, just to get a good look at you there, you're definitely not that Ed Sheeran character. I don't know if you follow actor-based reality, but just to please some of my listeners that look into, you've heard that conspiracy?
Oh my God, it's so crazy. And then I was communicating with Ed, and I was like, again, let's do a live stream together, and he wouldn't do it, and that just fueled the conspiracy longer.
Well, that's what I wanted to. I added Ed on Facebook. He didn't respond, but I wanted to connect with him because, yeah, I think that he might play some other characters. And I went to the stand-up comedy club back, like, I guess it was 4 years ago almost. And I didn't do that great when I stood up there, but as soon as like this bigger guy, a comedian, called me out, I went and sat back down, and I did real well while I was sitting there. When you're on stage, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but that's when I just dropped a whole bunch of information about actor-based reality and even the transvestite thing. You've seen how there's a lot of the trannies on.
You know, there's a lot of trannies in Hollywood, you know?
Yeah.
But when someone says, like, I'll throw one out, Brad Pitt's a tranny, I don't get it. Jennifer Aniston, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but there's a lot out there because that's part of they want us worshiping fake idols. They want us worshiping Baphomet, you know?
Yep.
And so that's why they do it. But there's some people, I don't know if they do it on purpose, if they're placed in here, or they're just nuts. And they shit in the punch bowl, and they make it so, you know, none of it's all laughable. And that's one of the things that's laughable.
Yeah, well, I guess Jungle Surfer I came across years back, and the Michelle Obama video, I was laughing. I could tell that one is obvious.
You mean Michael?
Yeah, Michael. That's one of the ones I talked about on stage. And so if you look at Wayne Brady from Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Yeah.
It looks like the teeth, they all line up. It looks like, and especially I did some ferreting around and seeing that Wayne Brady did this Broadway on New York called Boots on Broadway, where he dressed up in drag and danced around, and he looked just like Michelle Obama.
So wait, you're saying Wayne Brady is Michelle Obama?
It looks like that's how they play the game. It's
Isn't
strange.
Michelle Obama like 2 feet taller than Wayne Brady?
I don't know. You know what? I just look into things quick and laugh my head off. Maybe they're just like clone twins, but I don't really believe too much in the clone conspiracy. Like Jesse Spots, you familiar with him?
Very.
Yeah, he seems like a good character, but he goes pretty far with the cloning. Back when B.O.B. and Tila Tequila were getting in the flat Earth game. And this whole cloning center, some guy in Nova Scotia called, it just goes like so far into nonsense land. What do you guys think about the cloning?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't have as much insight into it as you do, but I don't discredit anything.
Can't rule it out.
Can't rule it out, right? I mean, like I said before, I wake up every morning to flat Earth, and I say, well, if I'm going to do that, then I can't really discredit anything. But I love how, Steve, you just jump right in there, no holds barred, straight out with actor-based reality. I like it.
Yeah.
So just to really, you know, clear things up, neither of us are non-flat earthers. Obviously, we're pretty well versed in the flat Earth theories, the multiple ones. So we weren't really wanting to talk to you today, David, about the basics of, you know, the models and whatnot, because we've done a lot of that just with people around ourselves, and
Sure.
So I wanted to obviously first have an introduction with you because I've wanted to talk to you for a while. Like Steve said, longtime fans. We've been following your channel. I've got your app on my phone. I tell everyone else to get your app because I think it's really cool. It's a great tool to show people, how the model and just have that different perspective. So welcome to the show. This is Tech Talks, the Everything Question talk show. And Steve is up in Nelson, British Columbia, which is a couple hours away from where I'm normally, which is Kelowna, BC. But like I said, I'm down here in Mexico. And welcome to the show, David. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, good. I love talking to like-minded people. We may be a little bit off on some of the actor-based stuff, but yes, this whole world is a stage, and there's nothing. My saying is the only thing that's not a conspiracy is sea glass. Sea glass is real. Oh yeah. There's no conspiracy behind it.
So, David, why don't you maybe just tell us a little bit about how you got into flat Earth? Like, where did you wake up?
Yeah, so I woke up. I would say I woke up on the morning of 9/11 because I had a clear shot of New York City over the water. I could see the towers as clear as day. It was probably the clearest day we've ever had on 9/11. And when those buildings went away, I knew something was wrong, but I really didn't figure it out for another 4 years, or figure out the depth of it. I don't know. I don't want to say I figured it out. But about 4 years later, I started really. I saw. I forget which video it was. Maybe it was Sophia Smallstorm's 9/11 Mysteries or some stuff, and I started looking into it, and things just started unraveling from there. And then I was already looking into the Federal Reserve and what money was, and so a buddy of mine, Tim, and we worked at a solar company. We every day in the lunchroom would be talking to people about, the Federal Reserve and Jekyll Island and just different stuff. And each day the crowd was getting bigger and bigger, waiting for us to come to the lunchroom. And Tim said, "Hey, we should do a podcast." I didn't really even know what a podcast was. I was like, okay, it's like a radio show. But and there was an opening at Stand Up New York Labs. Stand Up New York Comedy Club had a podcast studio, and they were looking for something original. So we came up with we called it Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. I don't know if either of you had listened to those. Yep. It was Tim and I were the conspiracy guys, and Mike was the comedian asshole. Am I allowed to swear on this show? It's a children's show.
No. I do typically age restrict these just because I don't want them to be monetized, and I just say whatever you want.
Excuse me. So we started the first show we did about 50 shows, a show a week for 3 years. The first one was called 9/11 is Dave's Baby, and I kind of blew the lid off the entire place. By the time we were done, every producer in the building had their heads, into the studio going, what the heck just happened? And so it went its course. But about 2 years into it, some listeners started sending me Flat Earth stuff. Hey, you got to watch this Flat Earth video. And I wouldn't watch a 1-minute video. And people that repeatedly sent me stuff, I banned from our social media for being so stupid to even suggest such a thing. And then one day, actually, I was at the studio. I was driving into New York talking to Sophia Smallstorm. You guys know who she is, right? She's a good researcher, and she's a good friend of mine. And I talked to her the whole way up into the studio. We're in the studio, and we're getting ready for the show. And I said to her, it's so amazing the amount of deception that we have, because we were talking about a bunch of crap that was going on. I said, the world is such a deception. And she said, oh, David, it's worse. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I think the earth might be flat. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I just finished banning some people from Facebook. And she sent me, I think it was Mark Sargent's original Clue. Maybe, and then I started watching that. I watched Tubey's stuff. And then I decided to debunk Flat Earth. I'm guessing that's how you guys got here, too. You try to debunk Flat Earth or prove the globe.
Yeah, I've tried proving the globe, and the North Star Polaris conundrum didn't line up. That Malcolm Bowden and Robert Sungenis. I was trying to debunk them for a while. I hadn't found Flat Earth yet, but I was once I tried debunking Malcolm Bowden and Robert Sungenis, it became obvious it was flat, and I found Flat Earth Society, and then Eric Dubé and The Clue and Mark Sargent and whatnot. But yeah, I was right. What a crazy time, 2014 solstice. What date did you figure it out, David?
You know, I kind of forget the date. I forget the date. It was about 5-6 years ago. It's just when Mark Sargent just started putting his clues out, and I started getting into it. So whatever date that was, that's about then.
Yeah, it was, well, roughly the same for me. I mean, it's interesting that you bring up 9/11 because I want to talk a little bit about that. But that was when I woke up. Actually, it was 2 days, I think, before 9/11, where, and I actually talked about this in detail in one of my introduction videos on my channel, where I was at my friend's house and we started to see these posts on chat sites warning people not to go into the towers, and basically saying the towers are going to get hit, they're going to blow them up, they're going to blame them on planes. Like they were flooding these chat sites on the internet, and then they were posting links to other chat sites. So we were going to those sites and we're like, what is going on? Like, this is super weird. We're at my buddy's place smoking weed, watching WWE, and so we were like, oh wow, this is weird. And then it was either the next morning or the day after when it happened. And I mean, when I heard it on the radio, no offense to anybody that died that day, but I started laughing because it was like, oh my God.
I never heard that people were saying in chat rooms. I heard that people got called and told not to go to work.
Yeah. And
but you're saying a day or two before
they were posting,
you were seeing it in chat rooms.
Yeah, so we went back to those chat rooms later that night or whatever. So I think it was Thursday night SmackDown. We went back to my buddy's house, and those sites, the entire domains had been deleted. Like there was these FBI notices on the domain saying this domain's gone. And so then we were like, oh man, my buddy's trying to figure out, like, do I format my hard drive? I'm like, you can't do anything. Like, they already know you've been to those sites. But that was when I woke up, was 2 days before. And then when it happened, I was like, no, this is a complete lie. Like, the whole story's a lie. And of course, I'm sure you know what this was like, trying to tell people that. It was not easy because so many people are in shock and awe, and the denial is just such a strong emotion. It is, yeah. And so it's actually interesting because I was looking at some of the stuff that you've published on YouTube, and I found your personal channel, and you've got a video on there called 9/11 Truth. And it was from like 10 years ago. Do you mind if I share the screen and play it?
Yeah, go for it.
At this point, we have 9 years of hard scientific evidence that disproves the government theory about what happened on September 11th, and yet people continue to be either oblivious to the fact that this information exists or completely resistant to looking at this information. So the question becomes why? Why is it that people have so much trouble hearing this information? From my work, I think we would be remiss not to look at the impact of trauma.
Many people respond to these truths in a very deep way. Some have a visceral reaction like they've been punched in the stomach. To begin to accept the possibility that the government was involved is like opening Pandora's box. If you open the lid and peek in a little bit, it's going to challenge some of your fundamental beliefs about the world.
If we can think of our worldview as being sort of our mental and emotional home, I think all of us will do just about anything to defend our homes, to defend our families. And so I see that with people, and I saw that with myself when my brother tried to talk with me about it, of don't mess with me, don't mess with my home, don't mess with my comfort with how things are. About a week later, I read a lengthy article by Professor Griffin about why he believes the official account of 9/11 cannot be true. And it was a very well-researched article. It was in my office at the time. I sat there and I felt my stomach churning. I thought maybe I was going to be sick. And I leaped out of my chair and ran out the door and took a long walk around the block, around several blocks, and just broke down. I understand now that what was happening was my worldview about my government being in some way my protector, almost like a parent, had been dashed, and it was like being cast out into the wilderness, I think is the closest way to describe that feeling. And I sobbed, felt like the ground had completely disappeared beneath my feet. And I knew at some point during the walk that I knew that I was going to have to become active in educating other people about this, that for me to retain any sense of integrity, I was going to have to take some action. I couldn't just let something like this go.
When we hear information that contradicts our worldview, social psychologists call the resulting insecurity cognitive dissonance. For example, with 9/11, we have one cognition, which is what the official story of 9/11, what our government told us, what our media repeated to us over and over, that 19 Muslims attacked us. On the other hand, we have what scientists, researchers, architects, engineers are now beginning to tell us, which is that there is evidence that shows that the official story cannot be true. So now we've lost our sense of security. We are starting to feel vulnerable. Now we're confused.
9/11 truth challenges the beliefs that our country protects us and keeps us safe, and that America is the good guy. When your beliefs are challenged, fear and anxiety are created. In response to that, our psychological defenses kick in, and they protect us from these emotions. Denial, which is probably the most primitive psychological defense, is the one most likely to kick in when our beliefs are challenged.
And it's a very, very uncomfortable state to be in. And eventually our mind shuts off. Just like when a computer is overloaded, our minds get overloaded. We can't handle it anymore and we shut down.
And what some of us will tend to do is deny the evidence that's coming our way and stick to the original story, the official story, and to try to regain our equilibrium in that way. Another thing we can do is decide to look at the conflicting evidence and be sincere and be open-minded.
It was so relevant to what's going on right now. The same things, denial, living in cognitive dissonance, being confused, and ultimately end up being afraid. And that's exactly how people were. When 9/11 happened, we were fed a story, and so many people's lives were impacted. Especially the people in, places like Afghanistan, right, where all of a sudden their world was turned upside down and inside out and bombed to the Stone Ages. And it went on and on and on. So when you say that that's kind of when you woke up, that's exactly when I woke up too. And from there, it was kind of one thing after another. After 9/11, I remember when the Zeitgeist movies came out, and a lot of people got swept up in that sort of phenomenon. Obviously, they were playing on people's emotions, pointing out things that were happening, but also trying to paint a utopia of a new world. And then, HAARP really started to become a thing. 2005 with the tsunamis, with the evidence of some type of energy weapons that they were working on. Even Hollow Earth was another rabbit hole that you had to look into, had to go down and question things. And then of course December 21st 2012, the Mayan calendar, Eric Dubé, 2014, He obviously woke up so many people to Flat Earth through his book and through his videos, and then of course Mark Sargent. When I saw Mark Sargent's videos and he put his number out there and his email, I contacted him because I had questions about things that were directly relevant to me that he was talking about. So, you know, I was in contact with him. And then of course BOB, you know, Steve, you mentioned BOB when you're talking about your actor-based reality there, but the fact that he came out with some real hard-hitting tracks, just digging in to Neil deGrasse and you know, just getting it out there, getting the message out there through music. That was also a really fundamental step towards waking people up. So and then now, you know, it's just continued to grow and grow to the point where Google had to turn off, you know, tracking, and YouTube had to turn off tracking on statistics because it was becoming the most searched term. And now, of course, we're at a point where it's being censored so much that if anybody was actually interested at this point and they went to YouTube and they typed in Flat Earth, they're not going to find any good information. Right? It's all going to be disinformation. Yeah. You actually have to know the channels that you want to get the information from. And even then, you watch one video and it immediately goes into propaganda pushing the heliocentric model or trying to discredit flat earthers, calling them idiots and whatever. Right.
So you mentioned you have my app at the beginning, but the main thing that the app does, one of the main things is I put a featured video every day in there, which is a video that's hand selected by me, whether it's new one or old one, whatever. I kind of get a feel of what the community is needing, but I put it in a playlist. So there it is. Thank you. After you're watching it, it goes to the next video that I picked. So you have a whole list. So if you watch it on there and just let it auto play, it's going to only play good Flat Earth content. So it's a great tool for waking people up.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, you've got a whole bunch of questions there, the common questions that a lot of people ask with answers to videos that are very specific, you know, easy for people to understand. So I think it's a great tool. But Thanks. This kind of leads me into the whole thing of trying to make that connection with people, trying to talk to people about this stuff, because I find in my personal experience, for me, it's generally around 15% of everyone I talk to is open-minded enough to be interested, curious, and question things. But 85% of people are so opposed to it. They're so stuck in their you know, blinders of what they think the world is, that they will actually attack you for even bringing it up. Or you know, they may know that you're a flat earther, and I have people that are close to me that are not flat earthers, and they'll be out in public and they'll bring it up, and then they'll intentionally say, you know,
more and more now.
Yeah, isn't this guy crazy? He's a flat earther, and they try to get people to gang up on you to make themselves feel more secure in their you know,
helio nonsensical beliefs.
Yeah. So what do you do, David? How do you approach this topic? Do you wait for somebody to bring it up, or do you drop little tidbits that make them ask questions?
That's a very good question. Normally, when I go out socially in my area, I wait for them to bring it up, which is all of the time now, just because I'm so public with it, they cannot help themselves. And then I actually am very standoffish. Like, they'll ask me a question, I'll just throw a question back at them. You know, where's the edge of the earth? I'm like, where's the edge of space? And then I'll just back off. Because you can't, it's like giving a kid advice. Doesn't work unless they ask for it. So you can't just smack them on the head. I do look for every opportunity to bring it up, you know, in an organic way. But that's, you know, when I'm out with friends and at social gatherings, I let them bring it up, but it comes up quite often now.
Yeah.
Steve, you know you're muted if you want to talk. I muted your mic when you walked out.
Oh,
there you go.
Hey guys.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, my dog was knocking some stuff over. yeah, when I'm out and about, I always bring it up, and I have gone on quite a long streak without having a girlfriend here because I'm very insistent on making sure that they know that I know the Earth's flat, and I try and get them to share proofs that we live on a ball, or anyways. It becomes tedious when, like, friends and family, they call you crazy. I've got this one friend that really has always loved competing with me since we were kids. We just can't have normal friendship anymore because he's always, every time I start having a good conversation with a mutual friend, if it's me and him hanging out, it's fantastic. We have a good time. As soon as there's 3 or 4 people, that friend will always pick the... Anyways, eventually I decided that flat Earth is kind of really good proof the government lies about everything, but it also causes the biggest divide arguments because people's cognitive dissonance, like you were saying, causes them to want to think that they know better, and that if the Earth was flat, that all the scientists and doctors, that's what everybody always tells me, is that all the scientists know better than you, Steve. You can't just go and eat a bunch of magic mushrooms and smoke some weed and read a bunch of information on the internet and come up with the truth. But I ended up figuring out a lot of stuff by doing that, and it wasn't a lot of magic mushrooms, just little micro doses, and going to the hot springs and thinking and talking with hippies about it. And that's where I found that the biggest, best place to wake people up about flat Earth is when you're in the hot springs with them. Like, there's lots of natural hot springs around here, and like up at the forest, St. Leon's, Halfway Hot Springs, I've woken up probably about like a good dozen, maybe even 20 or 30 hippies, depending on how many of them looked into it when they got home. But that's, you got to pick your audience. And so when I'm out soaking in the springs and chatting up different hippies and cool people out in the, even rednecks and stuff that are out there to enjoy the springs, that's where to do it. And I don't know, around a campfire with my buddies, I do not even try anymore because they're on to, everybody wants to be smarter than the next guy. And I never was a big scholar either, so it's almost like a surprise for like myself even to figure out like how badly we've been fooled and to try and share that. But because I used to not be the biggest scholar and not the smartest guy out there, I just kind of really tried hard recently. Now people are just like, oh, Steve doesn't know anything unless he's out skiing or playing basketball. You know, I can even still slam dunk. But when it comes to trying to share information with people, they don't really think of me as being that bright light. If you guys were straight A or doing a lot better scholastically, I'm guessing.
I was not straight A because school bored me, so I just did enough to get by. You know, I went to, graduated high school, graduated college, in the allotted time. I got average grades, and I loved astronomy back then. I took astronomy for 4 years in college.
Oh, wow.
And what a waste. What a waste. But I think it was for a purpose.
CGI.
Because, yeah, it taught me which helped me, flat earthers know more about the helio-nonsensical model than people that believe in it. Okay. Because anyone that studies the globe model with a clear thinking head, there's very few of those around, it just realizes how utterly ridiculous it is. When a friend brings up flat earth, ask me a question, sometimes they'll say, I'd love to answer that. I said, but this conversation isn't a 2-minute conversation in a bar, or isn't a conversation I'm willing to have on Facebook in a comment thread. If you want to get together, and have a meal and sit down, or, hang out for a while, this is a longer conversation. Because the example I give is sometimes I do interviews and someone asks me who I am when I'm on a show where they don't know who I am. You may have seen me do this, where I say I was a normal student. I went to college. I went to medical school. And after 3.5 years of medical school, I dropped out because I realized allopathic medicine was nonsense. And I went more of a homeopathic route and, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm here. And then 2 minutes later in the conversation, I talk about how belief is the enemy of knowing, as Crow 777 says. Believing is easy because a teacher tells you something, you believe it, you're done. Your whole day's done. All you got to do is remember it and regurgitate it, and you're done. I said, but, you guys believe that I went to medical school. I didn't. For you to figure that out, you'd have to figure out where I live, where I went to school, a week or two to figure it out. And no one's willing to do that. You'd rather just believe. So, I hear something that fits into my narrative. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let me verify it. And that could take a day, a week, a month, whatever. So that's where I am. I always need to listen and verify. And people say, oh, you just want the earth to be flat. You guys have heard all of this. And I was like, no, I just want to know the truth. And, saying that we're on a spinning water ball rocket flying through an infinite vacuum is dumber than it sounds.
Oh, yeah. No, I've had that same argument. You just want the world to be flat. And I'm like, no, I just want to know one way or the other. I would be happy to put this debate to bed because then obviously we'd be talking about other things like, moving forward.
The other thing is they're like, when they keep throwing you the basic questions, where's the curve, where's the edge, how come, how does Polaris set, what about sunsets, and you just nail it, then they go, you got an answer for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, or they'll come up with a question of why, right? And this is something that I also wanted to ask you, was like the big questions, the hard ones, the philosophical ones, because we can talk all day about the observable facts of no curvature, long distance photography, laser test, the light coming off the moon isn't the same light coming off the sun. We could go on and on because we've done observations. I've done my own. There's countless other people that have done their own. It's out there. It really isn't for us to convince somebody else to believe it or not. You go do your own observations, make your own assumptions or your conclusions. But the questions that are really hard to answer, why? Why would they lie? I mean, we all have our own positions and beliefs on why they would lie because we look at the different facts, the amount of money involved, the control of people, religion. There's so many different avenues that you can go down, but to actually come up with tangible proof, unless you're in NASA at that level of knowing the lie, it's all hearsay or speculation at that point. And so I find that's one of the hardest ones to really get past with people, because I can see why in my mind it makes sense, but I can't, get somebody else to see it. It's up for them to be able to cross that bridge and see it for themselves. So in the app, on the frequently asked questions page, we have the Why the Lie playlist. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little blurry, but it is there. I know I've seen it before. Yeah. So that brings you to an evolving playlist of some of the best videos that are made on the topic. And you got to watch them. You got to watch them and understand it. And I've seen them all multiple times. Like if I click on one of them now, I can't turn it off because I have to watch it again. Mm-hmm. But the simple lie is, they're like, why, what about all the space agencies? They're all in on it together? Yeah, they're all one. What about the other countries? Well, there are no other countries. It's all just fake division. It's, what about, NASA? We got the Antarctic Treaty, and then the same year or the following year, the Van Allen radiation belts. So they put a fence around us and a fence over us. Is that when the rulers of our world, the known rulers, figured it out? Maybe. I don't know. But maybe that's when the people needed to have a fence put around them. So what I always say is, they program us from infancy, before we go to preschool. The television shows, so Sesame Street, Disney, even the Teletubbies, they're all Ball Earth shows. And if you don't believe me, go to a 5 to 12-year-old kid and say, hey, do you know that the Earth is flat? And the kid will rip your head off and start throwing out so many nonsensical facts that he believes are real. You can see the programming is gripping them because they're the easiest to program. So we're in the middle of this COVID nonsense. I assume you guys are seeing right through the COVID hoax. I don't even have to ask you that. It's interesting. All flat earthers see through it, and so
what I tell people is they can convince you that you live on an insignificant speck spinning through an infinite universe in a vacuum and you're meaningless and nothing. They can convince you of anything. So the foundation of who you are, where you are, what you are is a lie. Then they could lie to you about everything. I woke people up. I called it exposing the big three. The Sandy event, I don't want to say it because it'll give you a red flag, the Boston event and 9/11. And you can wake people up to those because they're so obvious. They're so obvious, it's ridiculous. And when they wake up to it, I call them diet woke, but they don't go deep enough, and they go back to work, and they forget about it because it doesn't affect them. People in Ohio don't think about 9/11 like I do. I'm right outside New York City. It's just that little distance, let alone people in Afghanistan. Oh, they think about 9/11. But the waking up to flat Earth affects you every moment, every day. Which one of you said when you get up in the morning, you start your day? You did. You start your day with flat Earth, right? Because that's where you are. That's affecting everything in your life. If everybody woke up to flat Earth tomorrow morning, or everybody did ayahuasca, either way, it's a whole new world.
Yeah,
it's a whole new world.
I can confirm that. I haven't done ayahuasca, but I have done DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and I can confirm that. I mean, I was a flat earther before I did it, but when I did it, my first experience, I came back and I was like, yep, I went to the other side. It's unbelievable the amount of information that you can get from the other side. Unbelievable. You wake up every day and you're like, happiness is a choice. I can choose to be miserable about the state of the world or the state of my life if it was in a really bad place. You can choose to be miserable, or you can choose to be happy. And when you choose to walk down the street and smile and approach people with positive energy, it catches like wildfire. People are like, hey, what are you smiling about? I'm like, I love the world, man.
The reason I threw the ayahuasca comment in there is because the way that they're controlling the masses is that this is a spiritual war, and people don't even know that that's a thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, the elite know how this world works. They know that our thoughts create our reality, and our imagination, along with our enthusiasm, our emotional expectation. Trying to think of the right word, but when that is what creates your reality. So if they can keep us in a low level of fear, 24-hour news cycle, bam, 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 fear, you're not going to have a job, fear with money, they've lowered us. They've lowered our vibration. They've lowered our ability to think. They, with all the chemicals and stuff, we get into all of that, but they need us to create their reality. That's why they told us about 9/11. They tell us everything, and they program us with it. The biggest thing on 9/11 was the programming with the money. Most people don't give that enough credit. I mean, they literally changed all the bills except the one in the 1990s to paint out what was going to happen on 9/11, and everybody worships the dollar. So that's where our energy was going. It's a spiritual war. People don't know it.
No, I 100% agree, and you're so spot on with the energies, the vibrations. Again, the positive, it attracts positive. The negative, it attracts negative. And I'm sure you're familiar with Marty Leeds, the mathematical
good friend,
gematria.
Good friend,
awesome
good
guy.
Friend.
I'd really like to get online with him too. But he has a wealth of information on, decoding the Bible, looking at things mathematically, and I recommend him to everybody. I'm like, look into this, look at the Bible differently. I mean, I have the Bible, I have my Masonic Bible right there, and it's no secret to Steve, but full disclosure, I was a 32nd degree Freemason before I became a flat earther, and this was part of my journey. Becoming a Freemason opened my eyes to a lot, but then becoming a flat earther opened my eyes to almost all of it. And when I tried to approach that topic with people in the lodge, in the craft, I was shunned. I was told, you cannot talk about this, which just confirmed everything that I was learning about how, they are, part of the deception. And so I made the conscientious decision to leave the lodge. But I didn't leave without the knowledge that I learned, and it was invaluable in my journey to have learned it and experienced it myself. So it's interesting, because now when I read the Bible and I look at it from a different perspective of not so much a literal, it's like a guidebook for the stars. It's literally like an astrological guidebook, and it's so relevant to everything that's going on in our world at any point in time, but especially right now. And so, but there was some interesting things that I've heard Marty talk about, and especially with 33s, and so many people are opposed to 33s, but 33 times 3, you've got 3/3 essentially, right? 33.333 whatever, infinite, and times 3. And I think that it makes sense when you look at the world evenly balanced. You got 33.33% of the world that's positive, that are in the high frequency vibrations. Then you got 33.33% that are in the neutral zone or agnostic. And then you got 33.333% that are in the negative. And it's literally a battle right now for those people that are in the middle. And the positives, we just want to open up those people's minds and say, hey, come over to the light side here. And the dark side is just feeding them fear and trying to drag them down over to the bottom 33, because that's what's going to fuel their world, right? So I mean, who knows if there's actually randomness, or if everything is preordained and it's going to work out the way it was. And there was actually a question that I came up with last night when I was at dinner with my daughter and my dad, and I asked my daughter to come up with a question, and she was having a hard time because they all came back to kind of flat earth or corona, whatever. And I was saying, okay, well, let's try and get away from that and come up with a big question. So I came up with a question for you, David, and Steve, this is a good question for you. I think this is a good question for everybody, really, to think about. If the world is preordained, I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying if it is, and the path of time is already determined, i.e. our free will is only an illusion, and no matter what we do, the outcome will always be the same, meaning that there is no such thing as true randomness, then when your journey in this life or this realm comes to a close, or like Stephen King likes to describe as the clearing at the end of the path of Ka, do you think that you will be able to look back upon the story of your life and say that you did good?
100,000%. I literally have dedicated my life to this, because it's more important than anything else, especially at this time now.
It is.
This insanity that we're living in. I thought you were going a different way, because I have a question. Is the Bible, is it written because that is the way things are going to happen, or are the controllers of this world looking at the Bible as a playbook? As they're like, oh, now we have to do the mark of the beast. You guys saw the Microsoft patent 060606 with the cryptocurrency in your body, on your, that is the mark of the beast. And how people aren't seeing this, even normies, if you show them the Bible and show them that, they just short circuit. I showed a few. They just get that fluoridated stare, and they don't know, they don't compute. They aren't even able to comment on it. I live right outside of New York City, and I've done this. I haven't done it for about a year, but a year ago on 9/11, I was in New York City, and I was interviewing people on the street, just taking a survey. Right, I had a clipboard and everything, so I looked official, and I said, how many buildings fell on 9/11? And 9 out of 10 people said 2, and the other 10% were like, yeah, I heard something about a building, another building. Some people knew building 7, but in New York City, people don't know that 6 buildings fell.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I remember seeing the news report before the building came down. It was like, how more obvious?
Yeah.
How more obvious can your lie be? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that people, again, cognitive dissonance, denial, they're very powerful, and I don't know.
If you Google 9/11 and me, you'll see a lot of videos. David Weiss is a 9/11 shill, and that's because I was being interviewed by Hoi Poi. I don't even know the name of the group. This is a 9/11 group but these are hardcore people. Nobody died on 9/11. Not one person, they say, right? Which is nonsense. I had two friends that worked at Cantor Fitzgerald, and they're gone. I always said that they died on 9/11. But in that interview, when they pointed out a few things to me, I said, you know what? I'm going to change my statement. They disappeared on 9/11. I don't know if they're dead. And somehow that made me a 9/11 shell. All right. These are friends of mine. I played squash with them. I windsurfed with them. They're real people. Okay. And they're gone. And as far as I can tell, their families think they're dead. I'm friends with their sister. You know, are they dead? I don't know. It's like, what's past the Antarctic wall? I don't know.
Well, have you come across that Aaron Dover that apparently died?
I know. I forget the story. What's the story with him?
He's apparently some hedge fund banker from Britain that had some wife that took all of his money, and so he played this like depressed, angry flat earther character.
I remember him in that realm, yeah.
And so he gassed. A lot of people thought that he was like hate baiting because he'd just trash the Jews quite a bit and make a lot of like jokes about Jews. And I think he's right on the money with this Knights of Malta that he would often talk about, though. Like the Knights of Malta, the Vatican, the Phoenicians, black nobility, the Jesuits, and all of these ecclesiastical orders. That's where all corporations and even our birth certificates are chartered back through ecumenical orders or whatever. So he's right about that. And what he was saying about 9/11 with the no floors and no people dying is I have no way to prove that that's not the way it happened. But and like you say, if you have friends that work there, saying that they disappeared is better because the enemy of belief, or the enemy of knowing, you say that, oh, I believe they died that day, or I believe this many people. How can we tell? And I think it's almost a moot point, because just like flat Earth really rattles people's cages. If you bring up this no floors and that nobody died on 9/11, it causes more of it. Like most people, over half, at least like probably 75% in the Kootenays here, believe that 9/11 was bullshit, staged like a false flag to provocate war. So whether you say it's a false flag or a hoax, people know that something was wrong. Same with flat Earth versus ball Earth. It almost makes like, the Bible has the prophecy of like even the elect will be fooled in the end times. And like, I think that you're right, that it's more of like a plan. A prophecy is more of their playbook or their plan. And so they're carrying that out where they fool you one way or the other, whether it's a ball or whether it's flat. It's almost like this whole realm is designed to make it very them to easily transition back and forth to fool us and divide us. And so it's a lot of like semantics and Hegelian dialectics that they get us caught up into. So we may as well, since we're caught up in it, I'll just throw this monkey wrench in there. Have you heard of square flat Earth or like free energy?
I heard a little bit about it, but I haven't dug into it.
So what my observations are is like when I'm filming the chemtrail jets and I can see these like long straight shadows in like the sun setting, especially when the sun is rising or setting and the jets are flying by, it gives you like that perspective, just like the lampposts that, seem to trail off or go higher, but it's just a perspective. The main thing is when you see that sun jetting across the sky, it looks like it's going straight across the sky in my perspective. And especially it doesn't seem, how like the azimuthal equidistance has it spinning. I definitely don't see the sun spinning like downward and then coming back up for a set. It just seems to go straight across, and with perspective.
Where are you located?
I'm in the Kootenays, close to the BC Alberta, or the
So
BC
you're way
border.
north. You're in the north.
Yeah, I'm like 51 degrees latitude.
So wait a minute, 51.
He's very, very close to the border.
Yeah, so in the summer, if you go to a high location where you can see the sun coming and going, you'll see it hooking around. It doesn't go straight. It goes around, and you're going to see it for a long time. I see that from here, but the farther north you go, the more you can see that turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And if like we were talking the other night, Steve, if you go up into the Arctic Circle during the summer solstice, that sun's going to go right around you.
Because it never gets far enough to set. Yeah. It's only setting when it gets, when you look at a cloud above you, you got to look straight up. But let's say there's fluffy clouds going all across the cloud deck, but 20 miles away, where New York City is for me, the clouds are touching the water. Okay, but they're not. They're still at the same height, 8,000 feet, whatever they're at. But if I drew a line from my eyeball to that cloud, it would be parallel with the water from my point of view. Agreed? Right?
Yep.
But if somebody was standing under that cloud in New York City and could see the line, they would see a line coming from 8,000 feet sloping down to my eyeball. So it's pure perspective. And when the sun goes far enough away, the thickest part of the atmosphere is the lowest part of the atmosphere, and that just becomes opaque. So as the sun goes away, it just becomes opaque, and it sets behind that line, just like that. So sunsets are when you really think about it, they're not that complicated, and there's several things that make the sunset. Normally it's a land horizon, because most people are watching the sunset over the land. Like in the east, you never see it set over the water because it's always going, away across the land. Out west, you'll see it go through what I call that atmospheric deck of opacity. It's literally just you can't see any farther through that deck, and the sun goes away. You guys have seen my sun fade out videos, I assume.
Yeah.
All right. So that shows on a super clear day. That's the other big lie. Light years. Light travels for billions and billions of miles, like years on end. No, the throw of light is so small. It's so ridiculous. The sun is the brightest thing that we have, and its throw of light isn't that far. Going through the density of the air, it stops. It can't make it. So it can't light up the whole world. The sun, when people say the sun's 3,000 miles high, I don't think the sun that we see, I think it's way, way closer than that. Double digits.
Really?
Double digits.
Wow, interesting.
I have on the I think it's on the app. It's called Personal Atmospheric Dome playlist. I have a good video on there. It was made by a globe believer.
I know exactly the one you're talking about, that you can change your position on the map, and it'll just follow that dome around you, and it gives you that perspective.
Yeah, and that'll make the sun set outside in the south. It'll make it set outside of Capricorn, right, where the sun never goes. The people in Australia, the ballers will go, "How does the sun set southwest?" And I'm like, "You're seeing an apparent sun." And these can all recreate with stuff. I have a glass dome, and when you can't see forever, like on the app, you're having a top-down view, and wherever you see the sun, it's 12 noon at that spot. So when I see the sun rising here on the East Coast in the USA, the sun's over Johannesburg, Africa. Do I really think that I'm seeing a sun that far away over Johannesburg? Absolutely not. if you cleared your head of all the heliocentric nonsense, your first day on Earth, you know nothing, and you're in it, and you can see this. There's nothing in between you. You're out in the middle of the ocean, whatever, or on the coast, and the sun shows up on the horizon. Ask yourself how far that sun is, and my answer is 50 miles, maybe 50 miles away, because I see it show up. I can look down Long Island Sound, and the sun looks to be closer than Montauk, which is the tip of Long Island. And that's 65 miles away, okay? And that means if it's 65 miles, it's only traveling 130 miles before. Crazy, right? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it is crazy. I think we might have lost the last little couple seconds there. I apologize. It's probably my Mexico
Let me
internet.
come back in. It'll fix it. Hold on. Wow. I gotta jump out and come back.
Okay, we'll keep her going here.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that that this square Earth model, it really almost makes more sense in like a simulation type of thing, like
in a simulation, yeah, like we were talking about the other night.
Like that's why I'd like to run it by the game designer Mark Sargent, because he's interesting with things from a game making standpoint, and just like Pac-Man 3D, where the sun or the Pac-Man chomps through one side and then boom, pops out the other side. And it's like, as much as it seems weird when you first put your head around it, when you start watching the sun and thinking that way, then maybe that hook that you see at the end, you just might not see it anymore, just because. That's why when I first got in touch with Eric Dubé, like in 2014 or January, and he said, "Yep, read my book. It's all in there." And I'm like, "Okay, well, no thanks. I'm just going to." The less you look into somebody else's theory, the more you can kind of like come up with all the different possibilities. And so I started typing in square flat Earth and found free energy. And this guy is a little bit religious about the foundations of heaven. And have you heard the Book of Enoch, like 72? Actually, shout out to my buddy Sam Kelly. He's got a Facebook group called Enoch 1. And have you come across Sam Kelly there, David?
I've heard the name. I'm not sure. I see a lot of stuff. I have a question for you with the square Earth. I know the Book of Enoch. When people see the sun from northern Alaska or Norway that never sets and goes all the way around them, that doesn't look like a Pac-Man model to me. It looks like a sun circling a center point.
Well, this is what we're going to have to get is some reliable. That's what really baffles me is. Have you seen like Metatron's cube, where it's got all the 5 platonic solids within it?
Big sacred geometry guy, yes.
So that's what I kind of believe the foundations of Earth, and in the sky it's like as above so below. And so it's like this Metatron's cube that we're in, where the sun and the moon, even though I say it's like a box, I think like the overall it is like we're in a box. Have you used a graphing calculator and like graphed quadratics?
Not lately.
Yeah, so it's almost like a variable quadratic or like a Rubik's cube, where like X and Y and Z are like dead center in the middle. Like, you know where Neptune's lagoon is in Africa?
I do not.
That's where like there's remnants of like these concentric circles, and some people think that that's where Atlantis was. anyways, it's right at like if you look into like the golden ratio proportions of Africa, it's right like dead set where the start of the seashell would be, and Africa branches out around it. Anyways, I figured that that is the dead center XYZ coordinate of the reality that we're in. And so the sun will go straight across like basically 23.5 degrees north, 23.5 degrees south, and it goes across. I don't know, when I went to Chichen Itza and seen that serpent going down the staircase on the solstice, on the equinox, March equinox, it's like that was designed with the pillars straight north, and so that the sun setting on the east shines down on the staircase. It makes more sense having it charted, and just, could you imagine the geometry of trying to set that pyramid up to get the swing of the sun going around a circle? It's almost like the sun just goes straight across, and that's why the ball model works so well for people, is because all it is curving the flat model and just bending it straight around a ball.
I'll have to interject there, because the ball model is the AE map wrapped to
around the
circle.
ball.
Yeah.
Right.
If you take the Mercator map and try to wrap it around a ball, it doesn't work. You have to like squeeze the top together and you have to squeeze the bottom together, and so
yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to totally discredit what you're saying, Steve, because I have looked into the square Earth model. FP Angel is a pretty popular channel, and FP Angel, he's like vehemently opposed to the AE map, because you know he follows the Mercator map, the USGS, which is essentially the flat map, right? It's the map that you see on the school walls and stuff, and he's done all of his concentric circles and sacred geometry models very similar to what you're saying, with the center being kind of right in that shell point of Africa. And it is very interesting when you look at the lines and how those things line up with all the different pyramids, and it's very cool, it's very interesting. But I personally, my personal observations, it seems to make more sense for an AE map just based on what we observe. And when you go up into the northern, Arctic Circle, you see the sun go all the way around. It becomes harder and harder to visualize a sun going straight across the sky and then Pac-Man style coming across this. I don't know. I can't see it. But anyways, I did want to move on from this, because I know.
So just the last thing is, we know that we don't know exactly where everything is, but for some reason, the sun is always exactly where it should be on this AE map. Like, right now, I can't see upside down. Is that Africa?
Yeah.
Right now it's noon in Africa.
It's in going right over us. Yeah, right now.
Yeah. So wherever the sun is, so break out your phone and the map and say, oh, I know somebody in New Zealand. Let me call them in Western New Zealand, and they'll tell you it's noon, or just look it up. It's noon. So there is some truth there. I haven't been able to map it out another way.
I'm sure, David, you're familiar with Martin Kenny and the cosmic egg theory.
Good friend of mine.
I really like it. When I saw it, I just had that kind of feeling inside of me going, ooh, that gives me chills. Like it rings true to, and the first thing I thought of when I saw that was the little Russian dolls, right. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Why would we have this art that the Russians have done, and it's an intricate art that they pass down through family generations? Why do they do that? Not just to make dolls, it's to pass down this information. It's to pass down some secret to why we're here, where we are, who we are, why we're doing this. And so that was the first thing I thought of when I saw Martin Kenny's first videos, and I like him. I follow his stuff with the Pineal Gland Foundation. I think he's doing really positive work, fighting the fear. And that was something I wanted to talk to you about, like fighting the fear of the unknown, fighting the fear of this corona whatever, fighting the fear of of there being a God, because I find that's what a lot of people have a hard time dealing with is, you come to flat earth and they're like, well, if it was created, then it has to be created by somebody, and that becomes a real stumbling block for people to get past.
For people that are afraid to look at their lives and what they're really doing and what they're really thinking and what they've been doing with their lives. It's absolutely true. I did not believe in God whatsoever until I discovered the flat Earth, and then I'm like, wait a minute, there's a creator. It's life changing. It's super life changing.
Yeah, it is. It is life changing. It changes the way you look at the world, the way that you look at yourself, the way that you look at people around you. I mean, I did veganism for a year. It just didn't work with my body type. But I have a lot of respect for plant-based diet, and I am trying to encourage the people around me to like, okay, let's do more plant-based because it's better for the the world, and I'm not going to sit there and look at my dog who I absolutely love and then just not think about the fact that I'm eating an animal when I'm eating meat. Like I think about that stuff. I have respect for it because I've hunted myself. I've gone out and I've shot deer and dressed it in the forest and cut it up and ate it. But when you're not thinking about that stuff and you're going to the grocery store, which is pretty much the only place people can go these days for their essentials, and you buy whatever you buy, chicken, steak, whatever, and you eat it, a lot of people unfortunately think that that's where their meat comes from, is the grocery store. Yeah. They're not thinking that this was an animal that had a mother and had a father. And so I'm not saying that like there should be a hate on for people who eat meat or they're whatever. It's just opening up your eyes and your mind to the reality of the world that we're in and having respect. Have respect for the ground, for the animals, for the people, for the air, for everything around you, and try to do good. Good. And if you get new information along the way that says, oh, well, we were actually doing things kind of bad, maybe we should do things this way, you should go with that new information, right? I don't know. I gotta just backtrack a little bit. You were talking about Martin Kenney. Yeah. Did you Martin Kenney and I were talking early on, and I did a speech with Sophia called "The Outward Flow of Civilizations." Have you guys seen that? Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. So, and Martin and I discussed. So he was his cosmic theory, and what mountain ranges in dome? Is it another lands? Personally, if I had to bet, hey, we're going to find out tomorrow. Place your bets. I'm going to go with another ring of civilization where everybody migrated out to. They all migrated outwards, south. Yeah, I buy it. Unfortunately, the audio cut out there for some of that, but the cosmic egg universe is not. It's not just our realm. There's concentric rings of lands and oceans and possibly other suns and moons outside in their own Van Allen radiation belts, and it makes sense. I don't discredit that there's aliens, but obviously they're not extraterrestrials. That literally tells you right there there's extra land, there's extraterrestrial land out there, and humans, maybe there are other shapes, maybe there's other beings, maybe there's reptilians from lower life forms, who knows, right? Or maybe there's giants, maybe there's Anunnakis, maybe there are who knows, right? We can't discredit anything, but obviously we're not the only ones in this place, and we're not the newest ones, and we're not the smartest ones by far. We like to think we are, but we're not. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great people out there conceptualizing this stuff, seeing it, realizing it, sharing it, and there's even been stuff in the movies, right? Like there was a movie not too long ago. I think what's his face? I'm not trying to plug him, but I think it was Will Smith or somebody, and it was very similar to what we're talking about with the shielding, the Van Allen radiation belt, or whatever you want to call it, shutting down, and these almost like lizard-like humans came into what we call Earth. They came into this area, and I buy it. I buy the idea that, whatever this cosmological shift, this energy shift with the sun going into a grand solar minimum, there's going to be some electromagnetic event. Maybe it lasts for 80 years or who knows how long, where it's affecting our shield. And yeah, people may be able to go south and go out into the other realms, and then we might have beings or people coming in. I think
according to the Bible, I think we got beings coming in, right?
Well, that's what they're saying, right?
And me quoting the Bible, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you said that, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. Now I find the Bible fascinating. I never lead with it as a flat earth proof, but I'll go and say, and it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
My co-host Matt Long on the Flat Earth podcast, he comes from the Bible side of the fence. So we have a good duality. Yeah. Sacred geometry. Can you guys see my water bottle?
Oh yeah, right on. Yeah. Right on.
Nice.
That's awesome. I've actually been playing my speaker on top of my water bottle over there, just playing harmonics into the water.
I play Holy Harmony.
Holy Harmonies. Yes.
I put my headphones on my blue bottle in the sun with my spinner spinning the water.
Oh wow! And it makes it sweet. It's so crazy when you drink it. You're like, it's undeniable. Like, tell people to go and do it for yourself, and you'll be amazed. And
I distill my own water too, so it's all. Yeah, but why should we worry about water? What does water have to do with who we are, right?
Right. Yeah. It's only 70% of our makeup.
Here, let me since we want to go off the wall a little bit. So water holds tons of memory, right? You've seen how much information they can put in like a drop of water. It's like crazy, like terabytes of information. Our bodies are mostly water. Our brains are mostly water. So all this stuff, all this information is being passed through water. You've seen Dr. Emoto freezing the water and the shapes, and you yell at water and whatever. Water holds knowledge. So we live in this world, right? If I cut out, just hold your hand up or something, and I'll stop until it comes back.
Okay.
Because I could hear myself perfectly.
Yep.
It's a little joke. So water, our planet, our realm, our plane, is very complex, and it needs water at certain times in certain places. And we're supposed to believe that just random events cause water to fall here and there in the hydrological cycle. Water is intelligently delivered to where it needs to be when uninterfered with, at the right time in the right amounts. The ancients used to do their rain dances for their crops and everything. Well, there's some power to dance and music and song and fire, that we don't realize. It's a spiritual way to make things happen, a spiritual prayer. So clouds, why do clouds stay in the little clumps before, minus the chemtrails? Why do they stay in their own little area, right? Why don't they just spread out, in the sky? They do when a chemtrail comes, and it literally turns the clouds into slurry. And so we're here in the physical world, and the heavens are above with the angelic beings, non-physical. Well, that's not above the clouds. I think it is the clouds. I think the clouds are angelic in nature. They have intelligence, water. They're non-physical. They're amazing. And then when you watch these airplanes, if that's what it is, sometimes there's things spraying chemtrails up there that don't look like airplanes. If you look at it from that point of view, it'll make you cry, because you realize there's a war going on up there, because you'll see these perfect clouds with nice edges, and then they'll start spraying, and it just turns into sylphs and like a slick. I, just me, say that the clouds are angelic in nature. They're delivering information all around the world. They're here watching over us. How about that?
Amen. Amen to that. Yeah, no, I like it. I like it a lot. Fortunately, down here we don't see a lot of spraying, and I didn't even see it when I was down here in January. I did see it when I was up in Canada.
Yeah. Well, here it's horrific.
Oh, I've seen videos and pictures. And
why don't they do it in the South? Is it because there's less people there and they just need to concentrate up here?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Follow the money, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard to say why they do things in some places and not in others. I can't explain that. I mean, I know that the chemtrails are real. I've seen them. You can definitely. It just
not
feels
a question
different
anymore.
It's not a question.
Not a question.
It's not.
It's not. They admit it now. It's
geoengineering, right? They started. Yeah. I think it was in Obama's term when they've started actually saying, "Oh, chemtrails aren't real," but guess what, guys? We're geoengineering the world.
We're gonna look up Solar Shield 2017. There's articles out of Harvard and other places admitting that they're spraying the sky. Now, the reason they're admitting it, that they say they're doing it, I don't believe that at all. I think it's multifaceted, but they're admitting that they do it, but I still don't even believe that some of it's not even them. Yes, there's weather manipulation, but you guys have seen the orbs spraying or the planes that disappear. Have you guys seen that? Sometimes you'll see these trails coming out of an orb, like it's not a plane. So I think that some of the spraying they do is it's either to make us believe that it's coming from an airplane, or that's something else. They're spraying for weather or whatever. I think there's multiple things going on up there, from a physical war to a spiritual war.
Yeah, no, I buy it.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost where you guys were at with the that hydrology cycle you were talking about the water.
Yeah, that's the secondary water cycle. They tell us it's the primary water cycle, but it's not. You guys know about primary water, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into, is about, I think that they lie about the hydrology cycle. So it's like deep in the veins of the, I think that like Earth and heart are anagrams, or sorry, it's just that you switch around the letters. So it's almost like a fractal Earth heart idea, where like the water is like the lifeblood. And so there's veins deep in the ocean that go, and they'll actually pump the water higher up to the spring tops. Like, here's sea level, here's the mountain it'll pump it up to. And the reason why the water can go higher is because it's heavy mineral salty water, and as it's traveling underneath the aquifers and up to the mountaintops, the veins pull the minerals that are heavy out of the water. So now it's light, pure spring water. So all the heavy force of the pressure of the ocean will push down in the veins and pressure it up higher. And then the lakes, rivers, and streams going back to the ocean are like the arteries. So it's like a fractal infinity loop, like the sands of time, and like the heartbeat with the tides of the ocean. So that's kind of just what I wanted to contribute about that.
Do you guys know about the Great Man-Made River with Muammar Gaddafi?
Yeah, in Libya. Yeah, where he was basically turning the desert into agriculture.
Right.
Amazing.
The largest agricultural project in history, 40 years. And then when it was done, we blew it up with depleted uranium. It's such a crime against humanity. The whole Gaddafi, I was actually wearing my Gaddafi shirt before.
I have a Gaddafi shirt, and I gave it to one of our guests that are living in my parents' apartment buildings, and he was like the happiest guy ever. He's like, because he was eyeing this shirt up for a while, and then he's like, so when I left in January, he's like, what about your shirt? I was like, buddy, it's yours. Like, we were drinking tequila. I took my shirt off in the middle of it. I'm just like, it's yours. And so when I came back, he was wearing it, and he likes to walk out every now and then. And he's like, check out my Gaddafi shirt.
I have a video. It's on my channel, DITRH. It's called The Great Man-Made River by Muammar Gaddafi. And then there's another video linked to that one. Anyone that hasn't seen it, you have to watch it. Because that's another thing that woke me up many years ago, is just the lie about Gaddafi. That guy was the greatest leader of all time. You know, he would go through the streets of Libya and people would be like hugging him, and And he rides out. You see the video where he's riding out of the top of his limo, and everyone's like cheering him on. And we're told in the West that they have to cheer him on or they'll be killed. That's not true. Obama was coming down 95 during his presidency, and they shut down the entire highway and had like a dozen decoy cars so nobody could figure out which one he was in and possibly take him out.
Oh yeah.
And it's unbelievable, the deception in this world.
You know what, guys? I actually got a date tonight, so I'm running late. I'm
right on, buddy.
It was good. It was good chatting with you guys.
Is she a flat earther?
I told her about it last night, and she was just like, "Wow, I'll have to look into this." So yeah, she's still she's a pretty cool chick. So I'm gonna run, but it was good chatting with you guys, and good to meet you, David. And let's do it again sometime soon.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Okay,
Steve.
you guys have a good one. Cheers.
Well, we'll maybe chat for a bit more here, Dave, but then I've got my family kind of walking by, eyeing me up. They're waiting to have dinner, so we'll get going here. But
we were kind of all over the place.
Kind of all over the place?
Yeah.
I mean, I asked a bunch of my friends if they had any questions for you, and one of my friends, he's a huge follower of yours, and he sent me a bunch. I'm not going to get to all of them, but
let's do rapid fire. Come on.
Let's do rapid fire. Okay. Well, we talked a little bit about fighting the fear. Let's touch on what's going on right now. Protests in the United States. What's it like where you are? How are people feeling? Are people ready to get outside and start protesting and get back to work, or what's going on with the sentiment?
The rallies are starting up slowly. There's one in upstate from where I am this weekend, I think. I don't know how many people are going to turn out for it. The people in my town are wearing masks. They're petrified. They when they see me without my mask on, they steer clear. It's kind of nice when I'm in the Home Depot. If I'm walking down an aisle and somebody's standing in front of what I want, doesn't matter. They just get out of the way before I'm 10 feet from them. So I can't complain. A store clerk told me yesterday that I had to, or 2 days ago, that I had to wear a mask. And I looked her in the eye and I said, no, that's not going to happen. She kind of froze and I said, now go away. And she went away. It was like magic. So I have high hope that people are waking up, because I'm always talking to people like you and other people. But then I go out to the grocery store or to the Home Depot or something, and I lose my faith in humanity. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. That's funny. It's funny because we've seen it here too. If you go into Costco, people are wearing masks. I don't wear them. And my dad was at the grocery store here in our little fishing village, and they have actually like a really nice grocery store because we're right next to the Four Seasons. It's called the Gated Community, and there's some pretty affluent people. I think. I don't think maybe Bill Gates, but kind of almost up in that realm of wealth. They're sheltering behind the gates there, and so they have a really nice grocery store here. And my dad was in there the other day, and he said that as soon as he kind of came around a corner, there was a gringo, and they just pulled up this full head mask over their head and started backing up away from my dad. And of course, my dad is, almost half naked walking through the grocery store, touching everything and laughing at them. So it's here too. Obviously not as much as is in New York.
What's amazing? The whole Corona thing is as big of a lie as the globe, because if the foundation of what a virus is completely wrong in your mind.
I know.
It's insane.
I know. Right. We're on the same page. Viruses are not things that you can cough out, and it's dead material, and it's what your cell produces when your cell has become toxic or is being affected by radiation. 5G. Right. So let's jump right into 5G. Taking down towers. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the videos going around in Europe. People lighting towers on fire.
How do you light a tower on fire? What's combustible on it?
I don't know, but I mean, they were definitely, something was on fire in these videos. I don't know.
I because I wasn't there and I haven't seen it and I don't know how to light a tower on fire, I'm reserving judgment on whether this is just another psyop to make the masses start rioting.
Sure. Yeah.
It very well could be. It also could be real. I haven't looked into it. so I can't really make an opinion on it.
Fair enough. What are your thoughts on 5G? Do you think it's impacting, affecting, or is it just another distraction?
Yeah, you know what's amazing is they admit that 5G causes cellular disruption, that you can't uptake oxygen, it gives you flu-like symptoms. That is disclosed information, and people just don't want to face it. So, you know, a while ago they were building a tower a little ways away from me, and a friend was investigating it, and only need 5,000. Up my back.
You're back.
All right. So we're investigating a cell tower that was being built, and the cell tower only needed like 500 watts or 50 watts or 50 or 500, doesn't matter. But they were piping enough wire in there for 500,000 watts. So what is that about? You know, that's a microwave weapon right there.
Yeah.
So, you know, did they crank up the 5G in Wuhan and in Italy? Did people really drop in the streets like we saw on some of those videos? I don't know. I wasn't there. But there's multiple things that they're doing with this corona hoax. You know, but anybody that dies of corona. So, you know, 5G is definitely, in my opinion, not good. They admit that it's not good. And, you know, it's funny that Trump signed the 5G rollout for America on 3/22, right at the height of like a pandemic, and he wants it done in 6 months. Pretty scary.
Yeah, it is pretty scary. I think it's definitely relevant. I think the 5G thing is something that people should be questioning. I don't know. I'm not going to incite people to go out there and cut down towers and do
Definitely
stuff
not.
because A, you'll probably get electrocuted. B, if you don't get electrocuted, you probably get shot. But with that being said, how do we convince enough people to look into this and raise up enough stink so that they don't sit here and just fry us all, right? Cook a guy in his sleep with Wi-Fi is essentially what they're doing. So and then I mean the satellites, right? The whatever the
Starlink?
Elon Musk Starlink, right? Now you're seeing pictures, people taking videos of these things going across the sky, and my thinking on this is, hey, can we track them? Can we somehow get people to come together and say, okay, this is where it is right now, so that we can then start to say, is it affecting people while they go overhead, right? Can we get enough data to say, yeah, it was overhead at this time, we got pictures of it, and we could either detect the radiation with interferometers or radio wave detectors, or are people actually being able to notice symptoms? Like, is it making you short in breath? Is it making you cough? Is it making your throat sore? Are you getting headaches?
Or is it something completely different? Is it being used? If you look up on Wikipedia, which I hate, Starlink, it talks about that they're phased array antennas. So you look up phased array antennas, and it is able to project a hologram in midair or something like that.
Okay, so now Blue Beam Project and getting into that is
So what are those? Are those aircraft going up there? They're just telling us, maybe they're free energy aircraft that that can hover, that can move. So they're telling us about Starlinks because they don't want people going, what the heck are all those lights in the sky? So maybe. I personally believe that the ISS that we see, the bright light that we see go by, is a luminary. It's not a space station.
Oh, yeah. There's evidence of that in ancient teachings too, ISIS, right? Like there's something else up there that is doing its own thing.
It showed up. It returned in the 1980s or whenever they built that. And I believe that there's more luminaries turning. There's supposedly one coming right now, the Blue Kachina or whatever it is. But they put it... Have you seen the Unity Star? Have you heard about it?
Unity Star, no.
A bunch of years, not too long ago, they said that they launched a satellite, and it was this multi-sided like disco ball mirror, and it spins, and it would be flashing light, and it's supposed to remind the world that we're all one and unite the world. But it was a huge website, and it wasn't telling you exactly where it was, but they basically floated that story out. So when this luminary returns, and people go, "What was that? Oh my God, it's a returning God. It's an alien, whatever." They'll go, "No, it's just a Unity Star. Look, this website's been up for 10 years."
Right.
So they're covering their tracks really well, and it's you know what? It's not even that hard with how dumbed down people are.
Oh yeah, and people honestly, they just want to be told what to believe, by their government. They just,
Right.
that's what it is. Okay, and then they don't want to question it. So, okay, let me grab a couple more of these questions here. I'm starting. My mouth is starting to water because I'm smelling.
Smell
dinner.
the food.
Oh yeah, it's coming
Nice.
up. Okay, my buddy Chad, he sent off a whole bunch, and I'm just gonna try and try to come up with the best couple here. Well, we talked about germ theory.
Yep.
He mentioned triple crow or crow 777. I've been telling people the same thing. Look into it yourself. There's a lot of scientists, a lot of virology scientists who are coming out now saying it's not what we thought it is. These viruses are dead material. Your body has literally all of these viruses in it, right?
More viruses than cells.
Right. So it's just information, and your body gets toxic or is diseased, and your cells produce these viruses as the byproduct. So it's not the virus itself that's transmittable. Is space travel considered an essential service? Because I'm not sure, but I think NASA's still working, isn't it?
They launched the friggin' Starlink, whatever, the heavy, whatever rocket that was. Those rocket launches, there's so many channels that live stream them, and they're just fanboys of SpaceX. But if you ever watch a rocket from the official cameras, it shows a close-up, then it's liftoff, and then a half a second later, it's a different shot, and then a half a second later, it's a different shot, and then a half a second later, it's a different shot. Yeah. Every time. Never once will they show you from one point of view the whole thing.
Yeah, and it never goes straight up. It always arcs over, right?
Well,
I don't know if you just saw
the Earth is spinning away.
Yeah, right. Did you obviously saw the news about Iran's recent satellite launch?
I did not.
No, it was in the news yesterday. Trump was doing a press briefing about it because this is the first time that Iran has successfully launched a military satellite, or any satellite really, into space, and they've done it all with homegrown technology. So they haven't, because of all the sanctions that they've had on their country.
Better go to war with them.
That's exactly what they're saying. Is now, yes. Well, now that they can launch these missiles, now we know that they have technology. But what I'm interested to know is, okay, so now Iran has a space agency, and now they've shot a satellite up there. What are they going to do with the information that they're going to bring back? If they're going to come back, are they going to play ball? Are they going to be in the same cahoots with these other space agencies and governments? Yeah, please tell me your thoughts.
My thought is it's a total construct. Iran, U.S., Russia, China, Israel, all the same. There's no difference. It's a fake thing. So they didn't launch anything into space. It's all a put up, in my opinion. Maybe they're pretending they launched something in space, and they're countries doing independent launches, like India trying to land on the moon, whatever. Remember, and it crashed, and they're all like, well, like they couldn't be happier.
Well, same thing with Israel, right?
That was the script. Maybe it was Israel, whatever. Yeah, Israel. It's so, and the graphics they're getting worse.
They are getting worse, aren't they?
They're getting worse. I think they're just mocking with us. They're just mocking us. They're like, look how stupid these people are.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad.
He's got a lot of dumb questions, but they're kind of funny. He says, David, how long into your research did it take you before you finally let globe? He wants to start a new thing. Just let it globe.
Let it globe. Globe denier. It took me 2 weeks.
2 weeks, wow.
Well, it's probably 2 weeks. I was just like, no, wait a minute. So I had 3 baskets. Works on a ball earth, works on a flat earth, works on both. And I kept putting a lot of stuff went into both. A lot of stuff went into I don't know. A lot of stuff went into the flat only. Nothing ever went into the ball. And after 2 weeks, I'm like, mother effer. It's not a globe. And then I'm like, okay, it's a design system. There's no Big Bang. There's no evolution. Oh my God, there's a creator.
Yeah.
And that was, that was the day I woke up to, to what I thought was the biggest rabbit hole, but it might not be.
Well, you know what? It definitely is the beginning of the biggest rabbit hole. I guess
It's definitely
just
the most important.
It is. I think it is too. I've been telling that to everyone else. I'm like, once you figure this out, you can see all the other deceptions, and
exactly.
And you're still happy with your life and the world.
Oh my God, never been happier. And
never been happier.
Since you discovered flat Earth, have you been bored for 1 second?
No, never. I'm gonna put my finger up. You did freeze. You did freeze there for a second.
I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I can't go back to sleep. Oh well, I'll get up. I can do some research.
Yeah, my problem is going to sleep. That's been my problem.
Yeah.
It's but anyways. So we got the Just Let It globe out, and now he's saying, what are your as somebody who's been flattening the curve, how much of a slap in the face do you think that one is to all of the people who are woke? They're now flattening the curve.
Yeah. You've seen the news stories a while ago during the Ebola, where the newscaster goes, and the Earth is flat, talking about the spread of Ebola, and then they did it again this time. Mm-hmm. This woman reporter, saying just throwing it in there awkwardly. So it is part of their wizardry, their witchcraft, whatever you want to call it, their spell casting. Yeah. And that is definitely a nod at us, if not something more. But I've been saying for years, I said, if Flat Earth gets to the tipping point where it's about to go mainstream, I said the psychopaths are going to flip the table over worldwide. And here we are.
Here we are, right?
Was it because of the Flat Earth awakening? I say very possible.
I don't know if it was because of Flat Earth. My personal opinion, I think all of this was going to happen anyways. But
let me interject. They saw the awakening hitting the tipping point now 20 years ago, 50 years ago, however. So they somehow knew that we were going to wake up to the point where it was about to go mainstream. We're getting to the point where some big celebrity is going to snap out of their MK Ultra and say something, and then overnight it's going to change the world. They saw it coming and they stopped it. Okay, they stopped the awakening with this corona hoax, and it was all planned. I mean, the Rockefeller said in 2010 that a coronavirus is how they're going to take over the world in 10 years. It's in It's in a book.
There's a music video. I actually had it queued up on deck here. I can try and share my thing and see if I can get the audio to share here. Share computer sound. So I just totally missed that the first time when I did that. My fault. Here, I'm going to play this music video. You might have already seen it. We don't need to see this guy. Dr. Creep, Pandemic featured Lone Ninja. This was done in June 2013.
Wow.
Just have a listen to this. I'll let it play for about a minute and 15 seconds. It's pretty interesting. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I've heard it. It's amazing.
It is, eh? Pretty cool.
Yeah, they have to program our minds. Like if the mainstream media came out tomorrow and said the Jekyll Watts is coming, everyone beware, nobody is going to have a reaction to that because you have nothing to base a Jekyll Watts on.
Right.
But when you say a virus pandemic's going to come, you immediately have Bruce Willis in 12 Monkeys and Dustin Hoffman in Drama Strain and every pandemic movie. And fear, and that's how they control your mind. But it's more than that. It's putting you in fear, and it's programming your mind to accept these things. Did you ever see my Lethal Weapon 9/11 video?
Maybe, yeah, probably.
I just put it in the chat if you want. It's a 2-minute video, and if you can't see through, if someone can't see through that, it's unbelievable. You want to play it?
Okay, I'm going to share a screen. Just one sec.
Don't forget the sound. And it's people. You think it's stupid, but it programs your subconscious.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, then probably nothing.
Unreal, eh?
Second plane. Planes don't fly that close together.
No, I know. Yeah, it is pretty amazing how we have been programmed. And I've been saying it forever. We've been programmed since birth. Santa Claus and Easter bunnies and all of
what?
it. It's
Santa Claus? No,
no, not Santa Claus. Yeah, it's unreal. So, like you said, once you see Flat Earth, once you actually figure it out in your head, you see all of this stuff all the time, everywhere, and every day. It's a true awakening. But thank you so much, David, for a really fun conversation. It was great. I really appreciate you taking the time out. I'd love to do it again when you have time. I know you're a busy guy. Let me close out with one last question here. If there was one thing, has nothing to do with Flat Earth and nothing to do with Corona, whatever. If there was one thing that you could prove or disprove, what would it be?
I don't understand the question. Like, one thing I could prove?
Yeah, well, just like one unanswerable question. If you were, let's say you got to meet the creator, whatever you want to think the creator is, and you had one question that was always on your mind. It's not the shape of the world. It's not some microscopic byproduct of cells. What would it be?
Where did the creator come from?
Okay, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, who created the creator? Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's like the snake eating its own tail kind of thing, right? Well, for me, I think it would be a toss-up between dragons and mermaids. Were they real?
Of course they're real.
I know. I mean, I'm gonna tattoo a couple of them on my back. So I mean, I believe in them. But if I had a chance to prove it, I think it would have to be dragons or mermaids.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I thought they were proven already, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, right? So.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to say right now is, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it too.
Hey, that's my shirt in the back I see there, the Hulk shirt.
That's a shirt, and actually, if you can see, there's a Corona right in front of it.
I see that. I see a case of Corona also on your counter.
This is my vaccination corner over here. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh, somebody put my this is the other part of my vaccination right there. That's the heavy stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, my vaccination corner is surfboard, tequila, Corona, Holy Bible.
It's a good corner.
It's a good corner. And then of course my bedspread here, I set this up. I'm just currently looking for some curvature on this flat earth.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have let me see if I can show you. This is my turn up light. Hold on. It's upside down. This is my my flat earth blanket of truth.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
It's hard to say.
No, I like it. It's good. I've actually got the new standard map of the world as my shower curtain back at home. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, and so anytime I really need to wash the lies of the world off, I just go have a flat earth shower.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And for anyone listening that doesn't know what app we're talking about, it's the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Best way to learn about Flat Earth and teach other people about Flat Earth.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great tool. I recommend it to everyone. I love showing it off. I love showing people where and the constellations, the zodiac things. That was a great addition.
Thanks.
Yeah. Keep up.
Do you have the newest version with the web links and everything?
I think so. Yeah. I keep it up to date. So.
There's also and some people don't. It's kind of a little tricky. When you buy the app for $2.99, there's a subscription that you can add on to get rid of the pop-ups for 99 cents a month, which is a pretty good deal. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to pay the 99 cents, you just go into settings, turn on the little switch next to the pop-up, and you only get one pop-up every 30 days.
Oh, okay.
And you can exit out after 1 second. So it's a pretty good, and you still get everything. So it's a pretty good deal.
Cool. Good information. Well, thanks again, David. It was a real pleasure. It was great to virtually meet you, and keep up the great, amazing work that you're doing. And hopefully we'll connect again soon.
All right, man. Thanks.
Okay.
Good talking to you.
Ciao.
What the fuck did he just say?
Yeah, okay, smart ass. This is real knowledge. Save all the hippie shit for art classes. Really starting to bug me on this one. Gonna have to trust me on this one. I've done the studies on this one. Real little rusty on this one. I mean, why can't you just answer my question on the subject? Man, it's not in the fucking book. It's not up for discussion.